Everyone knows an asteroid killed the dinosaurs. But almost no one knows this: the dinosaurs alive at the moment of impact weren't killed by the impact itself. They were killed by what happened in the next 12 hours. And what happened in those 12 hours is the most violent, most complete, most terrifying event in the history of planet Earth. It is the late Cretaceous period. 66 million years ago. The world is warm. The oceans are full of marine reptiles the size of buses. The skies are full of flying reptiles with 12-meter wingspans. The continents are dominated by dinosaurs, by Tyrannosaurus, by Triceratops, by the last of the hadrosaurs. Earth has not experienced a mass extinction event in more than 180 million years. Life is, by any measure, thriving. And in exactly 6 minutes, everything is about to end. Somewhere in the vastness of space, an object is falling toward Earth. It has been falling for millions of years, a fragment of a shattered world from the outer asteroid belt, perhaps pushed loose by the gravitational pull of Jupiter. It is roughly 10 kilometers across, about the size of Mount Everest above sea level. It is moving at 45,000 miles per hour. 20 times faster than a bullet. In the final minute of its journey, it enters Earth's atmosphere over what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. For a few seconds, it becomes a second sun in the daytime sky. At exactly 1:30 p.m. local time, on an ordinary spring afternoon, it hits. The impact releases energy equivalent to 10 billion atomic bombs detonating simultaneously. In less than 1 second, it punches a hole through the crust of the Earth more than 20 kilometers deep. It vaporizes 1 million tons of rock on contact. And it creates a crater 180 kilometers across, a crater we can still see today, buried beneath Mexico's Gulf Coast. It is called Chicxulub. And the moment it is formed, the clock starts. In the first 10 seconds, the first wave of destruction begins. A flash of thermal radiation, hotter than the surface of the sun, radiates outward in every direction. Everything within 1,000 kilometers of the impact is vaporized on contact. Forests, rivers, dinosaurs, everything, flash-cooked by a fireball that briefly makes the atmosphere itself incandescent. This alone would be the most catastrophic event in the history of the planet. But this is not the disaster. The disaster is what comes next. The impact blasts a column of rock and molten material straight up into space. 100 cubic kilometers of Earth's crust is ejected through the atmosphere at speeds exceeding orbital velocity. Some of this debris leaves Earth entirely, fragments of our planet that may still be falling today, somewhere in the asteroid belt. But most of it does not escape. Most of it arcs back down. Within minutes, it begins to fall. Billions of tons of superheated rock, re-entering the atmosphere, glowing red-hot, raining down across the entire hemisphere. And this, not the impact itself, is when the real killing begins. As the re-entering ejecta glows across the sky, the entire upper atmosphere of the Western Hemisphere begins to heat up. Within 30 minutes, the temperature at the surface rises to the equivalent of being inside a household oven set to broil. Within 60 minutes, in much of North America, in South America, in what is now Africa and Europe, it reaches temperatures hot enough to ignite wood from a distance. Forests begin to combust spontaneously. Every continent except Antarctica begins to burn. Geologists today can still find the layer of soot from this global fire, a thin black band in the rock record that circles the entire Earth. Evidence that 70% of the world's forests burned to the ground in a single afternoon. The dinosaurs that survived the thermal pulse are now being cooked alive under a sky that is literally on fire. But the impact also hit the ocean. The asteroid struck a shallow sea, and the wave it created, the mega tsunami, started at a height of 1.5 kilometers. As it moved outward, it lost some of its energy, but not all of it. When the wave reached the shoreline of the Gulf of Mexico, it was still 90 meters tall. When it reached what is now Texas, it was still 40 meters tall. When it traveled around the coast of the Americas and across the Atlantic, it was still tall enough to devastate the coast of what is now Europe. Everything within 50 kilometers of the ocean, everywhere in the Americas, was scoured from the Earth. Paleontologists have found fossil beds in North Dakota, 2,000 kilometers from the impact site, where fish, dinosaurs, and Cretaceous debris are all piled together in a single chaotic layer, killed in the span of minutes by an inland wave that moved up the ancient Gulf Coast. Meanwhile, the shock from the impact has triggered earthquakes. The seismic energy, equivalent to a magnitude 11 earthquake, the largest in Earth's recorded history, propagates outward from the impact site. Everywhere on Earth, the ground shakes. In India, on the other side of the planet, volcanoes that had been dormant are jolted back into life. The Deccan Traps, a series of massive volcanic eruptions, intensify dramatically. For the next several hours, the entire planet is an apocalypse in motion: earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, mega tsunamis, a sky on fire. And then, as the initial fires begin to burn themselves out, the final phase begins. The atmosphere is now thick with ash, with soot, with sulfur dioxide released by the vaporized rock. Billions of tons of fine particulates have been injected into the upper atmosphere, high enough that they cannot rain out. They will stay there for years. Within a day, the sky around the world goes dark. Not cloudy. Not overcast. Dark. Dark enough that, globally, photosynthesis stops. The sun does not return to full brightness for nearly 2 years. With no sunlight reaching the surface, temperatures plummet. An impact winter begins. Global average temperatures drop by 25 degrees Celsius within weeks. The world freezes. Plants die, first the ones that needed the most light, then the ones that needed the least. Then the herbivores that ate the plants die. Then the carnivores that ate the herbivores die. Within a few years, 99% of all life on Earth is dead. 75% of all species, gone, including every single non-avian dinosaur that had ruled the Earth for more than 160 million years. The 12 hours after the Chicxulub impact, and the long cold years that followed, are the deadliest period in the history of our planet. But not everything died. In the deep oceans, life continued, protected by the enormous buffering mass of water. In burrows, in caves, in the shelter of rocks, small creatures survived. Mammals, most of them no larger than a rat, hid underground. They ate insects. They ate the roots of dead plants. They ate the seeds that survived in the soil. And they waited. The dinosaurs had ruled Earth for 165 million years. Their extinction took 12 hours. And in those burrows, in the dark, in the ash, in the cold, something else was quietly beginning. 66 million years ago, a rock the size of Mount Everest hit the Earth. Every dinosaur died. Every giant marine reptile died. Every flying reptile died. 99% of everything else died too. But the small, warm-blooded, burrow-dwelling creatures that survived, those creatures are your ancestors. We are here because they were there. And they were there because a dinosaur the size of a bus was not. The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs is also, in the most literal possible sense, the asteroid that gave rise to us. The crater is still there. Beneath the Yucatan, buried under kilometers of limestone, there is a 180-kilometer wide hole in the Earth. It is the grave of the age of dinosaurs. It is also the cradle of the age of mammals. 66 million years later, the descendants of those small, hidden survivors, the ones who crouched in the dark while the world burned, are the ones telling this story now. If you made it to the end, hit subscribe. More stories about the Earth that almost did not happen every week.